If history were taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. Every child will echo what Rudyard Kipling once said. Stories have made this innate power to etch themselves into the minds of the readers, so much so that they are remembered years after they were narrated or read. Welcome to the final episode of Content Edge season on storytelling.
First of all, thanks so much for agreeing to appear on the podcast. And since our current season focuses on storytelling, who better than the story wala to end the season with? So thanks so much for that.
Our guest today is someone who has made stories his way of life. He has a 2 decade long tryst with advertising and theatre. He strongly believes that stories have the power to change the world. He is a celebrated story coach who trains leaders, entrepreneurs, teachers, and parents in storytelling and on ways to use story and story based frameworks to help navigate change. Let's welcome Mr. Amin Haq, founder of Storywalas and a favorite storyteller of many kids in the city.
I want to start with asking you about the story of Storywala.
Okay, that's a good question. Very rarely do I get to tell the story of Storywalas and how it got formed. I used to work in advertising in my day job, and in the evenings I used to do theater. Now, both advertising and theater are forms of narrative. They are two different kinds of storytelling. In advertising, we tell stories of brands, and in theater, you tell other kind of stories from literature.
Right.
Working with both of these forms, it made me realize that stories are very powerful, but we don't leverage them. Stories remain under leveraged in many spheres of corporate life: leadership, change management, diversity and inclusion, uh, even simple presentations. Increasingly, we feel the need to move away from PowerPoint, and I see people telling each other in conference rooms, "Hey, close the laptop, just tell us the story." So I thought that there is some way that I could add value there. My mother was a teacher, and when I thought back about my own school days, I realized that there is a strong correlation between the subject we like and the teacher we liked. The corollary is also true. The subject we didn't like was taught by the teacher we didn't like. And good teachers are storytellers. So I thought there is some potential there as well, not just in the corporate world. And seeing these potential and excited by applying storytelling in these diverse areas, uh, we started Storywalas. This was in 2012, about 8 years ago. And since then, it's been a fun ride every single day.
Of late, at least in the last maybe 3 to 4 years, the significance of storytelling in a business setting has gained a lot of prominence. Would you say that it is an essential skill in the modern day workplace?
Absolutely. You use the word life skill.
Mhm.
Typically, in the past, we've had these divisions called soft skills and hard skills. Uh, I think storytelling is neither of these. Storytelling is power skill, and
Mm.
it's been identified as the five most important skills for future leaders.
So, can anyone become a storyteller?
The fact that we are human beings
Mm.
makes us a storyteller.
Mhm.
We are the only species in the world that has the gift of imagination. As Yuval Noah Harari says in his book Sapiens, we are the only ones who are capable of imagining stories. He calls money a story, for example, and he says, money is a story that we have created. It is us who have given the story to currency, where we see that 2000 rupee note and we say this is worth 2000, and another piece of paper, very similar to the 2000 rupee note with 500 written on it, has one fourth the value.
Right.
But at paper level, both of them have the same value. So we have created the story, and only human beings have this collective consciousness that we can buy into a larger story which is universal. So to answer your question, at one level, all of us are storytellers,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that all of us are good storytellers. We are born with the ability, but then it's a muscle, and that muscle needs to be exercised. The same is true for storytelling. We are born with the muscles, but if we don't exercise them, if we don't uh, practice enough with the right methods and techniques and framework, then we are not going to be good storytellers.
Kabuliwala, oh Kabuliwala, remember Cookie's calls to her Patani friend in Kabuliwala? Rabindranath Tagore weaves a tale of a poor Afghan who lives in India and befriends a girl who reminds him of his own daughter. Tagore's characters have always been a slice of real life, portraying raw emotion and sensibilities. Having come from a family of artists, poets, musicians, Tagore's earliest influences were that of the artistic environment at home and his surrounding society. It is not common knowledge that Tagore began writing poems at a very early age. It is also little known that he published nearly 60 volumes of verse containing different poetic forms. Did you know that his Gita Pitan, a collection of 2265 songs, were all composed, tuned, and sung by himself? There's more to this amazing storyteller's life than we all know of or have read. Do share other interesting tidbits you know of our Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore.
What's the role of authenticity in storytelling in today's world?
Well, there's a word for anything that's not authentic. It's not story, it's a lie. So stories have to be authentic. Uh, However, the word, like you mentioned just some time back, storytelling, it's become a buzzword today. And let's zoom out a little bit and look at that word a little closely. It's made of two words, story and telling. And a lot of attention has been paid to the latter part, the telling part. So everyone wants to become a great storyteller. But we've forgotten the first part, story. Now, what makes a story authentic? We live in a world cluttered with so many messages. What helps a message rise above the din and stand out? The answer is very simple: authenticity. But what does that mean? And what makes a story authentic? To my mind, there are two things that make a story authentic. Number one, your actions and your conduct. Because your conduct speaks louder than any story ever can. In fact, your conduct tells your story. Let me give you a couple of examples. When Narayan Murthy was heading Infosys, he wanted to set he wanted to send this message out to the people about cost consciousness at the company. He didn't write an internal memo. He started flying economy class himself. Now that action, that conduct of his became the story. Now it went viral outside the organization also, and eventually it ended up communicating the message better than any internal memo or corporate video or PR note could ever have done. When Starbucks had to, there was an incident that happened at one of the Starbucks store where a staff member refused to serve coffee to a person with certain ethnicity. And Starbucks said that, this is not acceptable behavior. We want to be an inclusive organization. We have to train all our employees to be inclusive. They didn't send out a corporate video or some online training program. They shut down 8,000 stores in the US so that all of their employees could attend a training on racial bias and inclusion and diversity. That action conveys to the world that how hungry Starbucks is to learn how to be inclusive. No corporate video could ever have done the job better than the action. So, there is the story about Ratan Tata, which is told that Ratan Tata and his colleagues were driving in a car towards Jamshedpur. The airport is at Ranchi, so you have to get down at Ranchi and then take a car to Tata Nagar. And the car broke down, or maybe had a puncture. Everybody, all his other colleagues used the opportunity for a smoke. Soon they realized that Mr. Ratan Tata was not to be seen. So they went looking for him, and they found him, sleeves rolled up, kneeling down and helping the driver change the punctured wheel.
Wow.
Now that action speaks louder than any message that he could have sent internally about what kind of culture they are trying to build in the organization. So the reason I'm sharing these stories with you is these are not stories which have been conveyed through the telling part. These are stories which have been conveyed through conduct and actions.
So
when the doing part. So your conduct tells the story. Your actions tell the story, and that's what makes it authentic. So when what we speak is in alignment with what we do, and what we do is in alignment with what we believe in, then your story is authentic. And if it's not authentic, you need to check for alignment in this equation. That's one reason or one factor that makes stories authentic. Now, there's another factor too. The second factor that makes stories authentic is not what you say about yourself, but what others say about you. We live in a world where you don't control the story of your organization anymore. Your employees are on Glassdoor and they are telling the story of your organization on Glassdoor. Your consumers are on Amazon review site and they are reviewing your products. They are reviewing your products on AngelList. They are reviewing your products on Foursquare.com, and your hotel is being reviewed on Airbnb, and so your customers are on TripAdvisor. They are reviewing your hotel and they are reviewing your service. Your restaurant is being reviewed on Zomato. Your Uber and Ola are being reviewed by drivers. So you don't control the story. Your story, or you are not the only one who controls the story. There are others who are telling your story. And if your story is not in alignment with the story your employees or your customers, your vendors, and your partners are telling, then there is lack of authenticity. What you are saying is not anchored in the truth.
That's true.
So these are the two factors that we have to keep in mind: your conduct and the story others are telling about you.
A lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs or CMOs of companies. What would you tell them about how would you advise them to develop this storytelling muscle that you spoke of? What are the 1, 2, or 3 things they can do to build their storytelling capability?
Nice. So now that we've got this base of authenticity in, right? Let's assume that your conduct is aligned to your core values, beliefs, the value proposition that you are supposedly delivering. So let's assume that that is done, and let's also assume that your stakeholders in the environment, your partners, vendors, employees, customers, what they are saying about your brand is also aligned. It's not enough. Just having these elements right, this is just the foundation. So you have to, once you build this foundation, you also need to go out and tell your story. You need to amplify your story. because we live in a world cluttered with so much information that that nobody has the time to come and see your story unless you are telling it out there, unless you are putting that message out there. So once you build the foundation of authenticity, then on top of that you need to get the amplification of your message.
Mhm.
Just how do I tell that story? And this is where your tonality, your brand, your organization, and the leader's tonality comes in. You
Right.
need to find that authentic voice
Mm.
using which you can differentiate from the competitors. So this is the stage where you say, what's my value prop?
Mm.
How is my value prop differentiated from those of others?
Yeah.
What is valuable in what I offer
Mhm.
to others? Why should somebody care? Why
Right.
should my customer care? And that needs to be told in a way that stands out.
Mm.
How do we build that muscle? You need to study, a couple of things you can do. First of all, look at all the value props or all the alternatives that are available to customers and see how are your offerings different from
Mhm.
them. Once you've studied the difference, say what is the best way for me to communicate this difference in a way that stands out, in a way that's simple, in a way that becomes memorable. Because if it's not memorable, then it's going to be forgotten again. So
Sure.
how do we make it memorable?
Mm.
uh, Once you start answering these questions, you've got the raw materials for a story.
Mhm.
Then you say, how do I put it together and how do I bake it? Then you need a tonality and a brand personality
Mhm.
with which some brands speak. And you need to say, how do I build this consistently?
Mhm. Mhm.
One of the simplest ways that people listening into the podcast can try and do this is use a simple one line framework.
Mm.
And that one line framework that I'd like to offer the listeners is this. Think of your organization and whatever the name of your organization is. For Dash, Dash being the name of your organization.
Mhm.
For Dash, the world would be a better place if dash 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 dash. Try filling in the blanks.
Mhm.
So for Dove, if I was brand Dove,
Mhm.
for Dove, the world would be a better place if women did not feel inadequate about their beauty. For Airbnb, the world would be a better place if travelers could experience the world through the eyes of the locals
Mm.
and see the or feel and see and feel the authentic experience of being in a city rather than the sanitized environment of a five-star hotel.
Right. Right.
So that's one line. It allows you to tell your story as differentiated from your what you're replacing.
Fantastic. Thank you. A lot of people are going through a stressful period, facing uncertainty in their, whether it's their jobs, whether it's the continuation of their enterprises. How does storytelling sustain people during such stressful times?
I could answer this at two or three levels.
Mm-hmm.
First, let me answer it from the leadership level.
Mm-hmm.
I think the India leadership in India has been very, very proactive.
Mm-hmm.
To his credit, Mr. Modi has addressed the nation at least three or four times
Mm-hmm.
already.
Mm.
And in times of crisis, over communication is better than under communication.
True.
So to communicate more is the need of the hour, and
Mm.
India has been doing a fantastic job there. Again, in times of crisis, we need to see how to find the balance between what needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
yet reassuring people, because what people need more than anything else is this reassurance that while I am at home, essential services are not getting disrupted. While I am at home, I can still move around. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times the messaging comes out very shrill. Like day before yesterday, the message came out from the Twitter handle of a police officer that cars and two-wheelers
Will
will
be seen.
be seized. It took a senior police officer to come on a news channel and clarify that there is no pass required if you are moving around in your vicinity.
Mm.
right? So we need to be conscious of what story we are telling and how we are reassuring through the story in these tough times.
Mhm.
But I'm nitpicking here. Overall, I would say again, and I would like to underline that our leadership has done a fantastic job.
Mhm.
In compared to many other nations, we are in the over communication zone rather than in the under communication, and we are far better on the proactive zone rather than the reactive zone. Now, another way to answer the question that you asked, how do stories help?
Mm.
I think it's important for us to look at stories where, under similar or much worse situations, people have come out and seen light at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Yeah, there have been many periods in the past where people have emerged stronger,
Mm.
and a 20-day lockdown, a 21-day lockdown, a 14-day lockdown is not enough to defeat the virus. There is much more that needs to be done. Uh, uh, but if we can build the narrative of this collective sacrifice that is required, which is short term
Mm.
for long term gain, that's the second level at which I'd like to answer. At the third level, at the most obvious level, stories are already helping us.
Mm.
The fact that there is Nara,
Netflix.
the very fact that there is Ramayana and Mahabharata on television is already helping a lot of people.
True, true, true.
In
It's
fact, there are a lot of storytellers, friends of mine, and at Storywalas also. I don't know if you've seen Tanya, our team member, on LinkedIn. Every day she's been sharing a video story
Mhm.
on LinkedIn with people on themes of patience, on themes of seeing this through,
Mhm.
on themes that convey the message that there is light at the end of the tunnel, on
Mm.
themes where we slow down and reassess what our priorities are. And these
Mm.
stories are getting a lot of traction. So,
Yeah, yeah.
to those who need to look at those stories, uh, just look at the hashtag Storywalas on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and that will lead you to our team member Tanya, who's been recording a video every day and sharing a story. And there are a host of other storytellers as well who've been recording stories for children at home.
Mhm.
They can log on to Facebook and look at these storytellers. So there are quite a few who are doing that job as well. So I've tried to answer your question at three levels. At the leadership level, what's the story that the leadership is telling and how that can be refined better. Overall, how we can find succor in stories of a similar kind where people have faced similar or worse situations and come out better.
Mhm.
Uh, I have sat down with my kids and I have shown them two movies. The
Mm.
first movie I showed them was Castaway,
Mm.
the Tom Hanks movie where he's marooned on an island for 4 years, and how he survives 4 years with hardly anything.
Correct.
So if Maggie is over at house, we don't need to panic, and it's not the end of world if Maggie is over in the
Right.
kitchen. You just need to watch Castaway and it tells you that how well off we are. Watch a movie called Castaway or watch a movie called Life is Beautiful.
I think it's almost a blessing in disguise for most of us because we are leading such busy lives, technology driven, calendar driven, hubbub driven kind of lives, that this is a beautiful pause, actually. If not, for the fact that there are so many people out there trying to keep us safe. Uh,
Yeah,
this
I,
was a much needed pause for the 21st century, maybe.
absolutely. We bring out super short stories, Twitter size stories, and if you
Mhm.
see again, on my LinkedIn handle, on our Storywalas handle on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, we've just put out a very very short, moving story about doctors and the
Mhm.
sacrifices that people at the front line of the epidemic are making just to ensure that we are safe. She left her child's birthday party midway so that another child could celebrate hers later. One day, her child will grow up and understand that playing doctor doctor in real life is much more difficult. than playing doctor at home. Number one, we can use this break to improve our health. Hmm. Number two, people are sleeping well, they are traveling less, they are exercising more, they are breathing better air, and they are doing much more. And for those who are not exercising, there is forced exercise when they are working at home. Jhadu, pocha, right?
Right.
Making bed. So as a result, we are all fitter. Number two, we can also use this opportunity to make our businesses fitter. This is the time when we can evaluate all the costs that are excess and become leaner. Number one. Number two, when we are running on the treadmill of business every day, we don't get enough time to step off and see how we can improve our product and improve our offering. But this time off helps us reflect on how we can improve our offering, differentiate it better, and make it more valuable for our customers. So this pause must be used for that. At a third level, we must connect with our own selves, our own purpose, and our own family better. So we must use this time to play board games with our kids, to watch movies with our kids, to have longer conversations with our kids that we don't have the luxury of. If you have, let me say this to our listeners: if you have a 10-year-old at home, you have got just 5 more years with that child to build a foundation that you will live off for the rest of your life. Because by the time they are 15 or 16, they are out of the home or they are spending no time with you. So you have from age 5 to age 15, just that 10-year window on which you will build the foundation of kinship with your family members, with your kids, and you will live off that for the rest of your life. So
Very
build
true.
now,
Very true.
focus on that now.
Thank you. I mean, that last statement really resonated with me as a mom. And I think on that note, we'll end the podcast interview. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Padmaja. Thank you for having me on your show. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Resisting the move back of reality from the world of stories? We get you. That's what stories do to each of us. And it's curtains for the storyful season of Content Ed. If you think about it, there's always something to share and tell. There's always learning hidden in your experiences and others. And it's stories that make it impactful and powerful. As writer producer Stephen Moffat says, we are all stories in the end. Signing off. Until next interesting season of Content Ed.